Hello, it's me again, and I just thought today, being as we're all going through such a strange time, I'd bring you something a little bit different. So what I thought I'd do today actually follows on from something that I posted in my Jane's Allotment Facebook group page. I'll put the link below. Over the winter months, about what people do when they're not in the garden, and I was quite blown over by the vast array of talent that you've all got between you out there. Such a huge scope of different things that you all get on with, and of course now at a time when I know quite a few of you aren't able to get up to the allotment because of the restrictions that have been put in place, I thought it might just be quite fun to revisit that. So what I've done, I've asked a few familiar faces what they get up to in their, I'm not going to say spare time, but when they're not in the garden, what other talents, what else have they got under their bushel? And we're going to take a peek under some of those bushels right now. So yeah, I'm going to sit back. I'll come back at the end and share some of my stuff, but I'm hoping that you're going to enjoy, recognise a few of the faces and enjoy seeing what they get up to when they're not in the garden. Okay.
So what do I do in my spare time when I'm not on the allotment? I've got a number of hobbies which take up my time. Two run parallel with each other, and I've been doing them for almost probably 50 years, getting on now. First one is cycling. I've always had a love for cycling. I've never done cycle racing, I tend to do touring, but saying that, I do watch the classic cycle races on, like the Tour de France, Giro d'Italia, Vuelta a España, stuff like that. I watch that religiously when it's on live each day of the tour. But say now, touring is the one I did, and when I was a young lad, probably not so young, mid-80s, early 80s it would be actually, one of the lads I work with, we decided we'd go on a cycle ride. It wasn't any cycle ride, it was a 1,000-miler, it was decided we was going to do. And we decided to do this for a charity ride on behalf of the local cancer hospice in the city, it's called Compton Hospice. So we did our planning, and we started off from Inverness and meandered our way all the way down the country, following Loch Ness and all the way through past Ben Nevis, and that was great. And it wasn't until we got to Chester, I think it was, yeah, Chester, because we'd gone all through the Yorkshire Dales, Lake District. We went up a thing called the Honister Pass. That was murder. As we got to Chester, we realised that we was going to reach home before we got the 1,000 miles in. So we come down the country, turned right, which would be left as you look at the map, and we went across North Wales from Brill and now Colwyn Bay, all the way down to Bournemouth, and then inland across Wales over the Longmynd, and eventually got back home. These was the days before mobile phones was generally available, so we luckily we didn't get sponsored, but we got a good shout out most days on the local radio station. So to get the information to them, we stopped at phone boxes and found in what we was doing the previous day, and they then relayed it on the news. And I think we raised, it was well over £1,000 we raised, which for early 80s, that was quite a lot of money. And we got a lot of stories to tell what happened along the way. We stayed mainly in youth hostels, so we had to carry all our own luggage, and we did the odd occasion bed and breakfast, but mainly it was youth hostels. Unfortunately, most of them have closed down now. The other thing which I do a lot, and again that's been 50 years, is photography. I've always had a love for photography. I started off, originally I used to follow rallying, car rallying, and I did a lot of photographs of that in the early, mid-80s, late 80s. And motorcycle racing, Donington Park and Mallory Park was a regular haunt for me. Then I gradually moved across to doing nature photography, doing birds and wildlife and stuff like that. Just after I got married and moved into my house, I worked for a studio in the city for about 5 years, and I used to do wedding photography them on the weekend. And some Saturdays I could do 2 weddings, and you'd end up start doing the visit to the bride's home, then do the church service. Then as they tootled off to the reception, I'd go and do to another start of another wedding, bride's house, church. Then once I'd done that, I'd go back to the first reception. Then after that, I'd go back to the second reception. And it's when I look back now, this was the days before digital photography, so everything you shot was on a film. And I used to shoot on the camera. It was called a 2 1/4 square or 6x6. It was a Bronica is the version I used to use. The top guys use a thing called Hasselblad, but that was way out my price bracket. But the frightening thing was, until that film was developed, you hadn't got a clue if there was an issue at all. So you're doing somebody's special day there, and fortunately I never had anything go wrong. But looking back on it now, I'm not sure as I'd be willing to take that risk. So that's the cycling and the photography. There's one other passion we've got, and it's my wife and my daughter as well. We all love Disney. We've been to Florida a few times, to Walt Disney World, and we love roller coasters. I love white knuckle rides. I mean, some people I know it's not their game, but I actually love roller coasters. But Disney in its own, I mean, the logistics to run that place, and when you see the quality of the service they provide, it's excellent. And each time I go, I obviously take the camera with me. 2,000 to 3,000 photographs is regular for me to shoot on a trip over there, and I'm quite critical with my photographs. And what I do, I'll throw quite a lot away. They don't actually make the cut. But the other thing I do, I keep a meticulous record of what we've done every day. And when we get home over the winter months, I tend to produce a photo book, which could be 120 pages, and it'll count the day's journal with photographs to go with it. And to do one of them, I'm talking like 4 to 6 weeks if you do it properly. And I mean, I've got trips I haven't even looked at yet. I've still got all the notes. I keep all the notes and all the photographs together, and then that's a project for a rainy day. So that's what I get up to outside of the allotment. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay safe out there, and I hope to see you soon. All the best. Bye for now.
Welsh garden. Now, when I'm not down the allotment or in the garden, my second favourite hobby at the moment is winemaking. Now, I got into this a couple of years ago after seeing a couple of different YouTubers having a go at making wine, and in the past I'd always made jams and chutneys and things, and I thought it was a great way to have a go at, you know, making something cheap really. The first wine I made was a blackberry wine, and it went down really, really well. And then after that, I was kind of hooked. So I just started buying more and more secondhand demijohns and filling them up with loads of different things. So in this demijohn here, I've got an apple and ginger wine on the go. I don't know if you'll see from here, but it's a lovely kind of toffee apple colour really. That's almost ready to bottle. So my mum's favourite, kind of favourite thing is ginger. So I thought that'd be the perfect thing for her to have when she comes and visits. So that was kind of made for her really. And the apples came from one of the trees in my garden. Down here I have a apple and blackberry wine, again using apples from my garden and blackberries forage from the lane up by mine. Then I do really easy ones sometimes. So I've got this one here, which is a black grape juice that I got in Asda. I think I got 4 1 litres packets of, bottles of it, and then put that in there, which was a really, really quick way of doing it. And I've got some kit wines as well. So this one here is a Sauvignon Blanc, which I'm not actually really a white wine drinker myself, but apparently it tastes really good. I also had a go last year at making a mead. So this is my last bottle of mead that I've got. And again, apparently this tastes really good, but I'm not a big fan of mead myself. You might notice as well, I've got kind of all these cards and things. These are old birthday or Christmas cards, and what I do is I just write the recipe down on the card when I start making it, and then every time I do anything to the wine, when I rack it off or when I bottle it, I always write it down here, and then I kind of keep them up here because it's a perfect way to make sure I have a record of the wines I've made, because sometimes they're absolutely amazing and you want to know the exact recipe. Another thing I do actually is I publish the recipes on my website, so that's a really fun thing to do, just to share kind of the recipes with other people that make it. Now what I'll do, I'll quickly show you one more wine that I've got, and then I'll leave it there because you might get a bit bored. Oh, hang on. That one there is a Merlot, which is also from a kit, so there you go. One last one now, which is this one, and this is a pumpkin wine. I made this from using the last big pumpkin from Les Zorab. So that is a pumpkin wine in here, which, do you know what, I don't think it's an amazing flavour, but it's really good for cooking. Also, when I'm not making wine or gardening, I do knit, and I'm really super proud of these demijohn covers that I knitted, because I think it's pretty funky, to be honest, and it keeps the light out of the demijohns, because I have probably another 30 of these upstairs, and yeah, they've all got a little jacket like this. But anyway, thank you very much for joining me today in my wine cellar, and I hope you've enjoyed having a look at some of the wines that I've got.
This is the Starship Sofa. Everybody welcome, hello and welcome to show 625. I'm your host, Tony C. Smith. Hello everyone, I hope everyone is fine and dandy. And hello everyone from Jane's channel. Jane, thank you so much. Jane asked us if I would just share what I get up to when I'm not gardening on the Tony C. Smith channel on YouTube. Well, I run a podcast and I've done that since 2005. We take short stories from writers all over the world, from the big writers, the great big hitters, to the brand new fledgling writer. We get it narrated, we turn it into an audio book, and then every week we put out a show which you can download on iTunes, and you can listen in the garden, or you can listen in bed, in the bath, anywhere you want if you like science fiction. We were the first show to win a Hugo Award. That is the Hugo Award. Won that in 2010. This is like the Oscars of the science fiction world. And when you're doing, when you're kind of discovering new writers, some of the stories are so special, you just want to keep them. And then I turned my hand to becoming an editor. And as you can see there, I've produced a number of books in the science fiction genre. The first one came out in 2010, Starship Sofa Stories. And then we had another in that line, another one more. We even put out a horror for all you ghouls out there that kind of like to be scared at night. And the final one, which came out in 2017, this was a collection from writers across the world, from everywhere, where you don't normally would get science fiction writers, from Malaysia, from Africa, and we just got them to kind of write some science fiction stories, and it was a fantastic little hit. So yes, that's what I do when I'm not on the Tony C. Smith channel on YouTube and in the allotment. But do come and join us. Do check out Starship Sofa on iTunes, and like I say, I'm up with the allotment every day and showing you what I do on my channel, Tony C. Smith. Jane, thank you so much for this. It's been a blast. Take good care.
I'm Liz Zorab from By the Farm, and when I'm not out in the garden, I can very often be found here sitting on the sofa in the living room and studying. I spend quite a lot of time learning new things, and I firmly believe it's never too late to start learning. So at the moment I'm really enjoying some new books. So I'm reading about gardening, funnily enough. Very often I will read about gardening, permaculture and cooking, in particular preserving food. So it looks to me like I've got an afternoon in the kitchen. And at the moment I'm studying an online course, so I'm doing my permaculture design certificate online, and I'm also doing advanced video techniques online. Obviously I'm learning about it, and then hopefully one day my videos will get better. Because they say as you get older it's really important to learn new things and keep your brain active. And one of the other things that I do is handicraft, so if I'm just watching videos as I'm learning, I quite often knit or I sew and do patchwork, and I also do embroidery and things like that. Those are usually more winter activities. And in the summer I'm mostly gardening and making videos, and when I do get time I go back to my learning.
Hey folks, I'm Tony O'Neill from Simplified Gardening, that used to be UK UE Grow. I've been asked what I like doing in my spare time. Well, I don't have a huge amount of spare time. I work 48 hours like a lot of you guys, and I spend a lot of it at my garden. I love growing things. But when I'm not here, I enjoy spending time with the family, going to the cinema, the usual sort of stuff. But occasionally I'll have some projects that I really love doing. Things like building my Knight Rider replica that I once owned, and building things like Wurzel, who's in the background there. Those little sorts of projects. And I also really enjoy writing blogs and things for my website. This is typically what I'm doing. And if I'm not doing all of that, I'm usually learning something like SEO or how to edit, trying to increase my skill levels to produce better videos for you. So I just want to say thanks for Jane for highlighting me on her channel, and I hope you all are fantastic.
Okay, for my part, and I'm really going to try and keep this short because I asked everyone else just to stick to a couple of minutes, and I know what I'm like once I get started, but I just thought I'd share a couple of things that keep me busy really. I'm a right old fickle fairy when it comes to, you know, things to do. It depends on what the weather's like, what mood I'm in. It's plane going over the top there. First plane I've heard for days, and there you go, it's heard me filming. But really, I always end up doing something that involves my hands, so making something. So whether it's sewing, I used to sew an awful lot when I was young. Can you hear that plane now? I used to sew an awful lot when I was younger, when it was cheaper to sew your clothes than to buy them, but now it's the other way around. But sewing's always been in my blood, knitting, crochet, that sort of thing. And then all of a sudden I'll see somebody doing something else and I think, oh, I'd like to have a go at that. And so it might be really short-lived, a short-lived activity, but it'll be something I really pour my heart and soul into and get completely absorbed by. So, for example, I think it was last summer. Can you see this? In my funny little basket here? Very odd array of little painted rocks. I don't know if you can see those. Have I got another one in there? You probably can't see this one. Let me see. I'll show you. So this sort of thing. I know, completely mad, completely useless really, although they do make good doorstops if you do nice big ones, or paperweights. Not that we really have that many papers nowadays, but yeah, a very absorbing thing to do. I just really enjoyed doing it. Watercolour. I'm not going to show you any of them, but I've got my satchel there with all my bits and pieces ready to go should the feeling arise. But yeah, the main thing that I do is crochet. I don't much like the look of crochet, so what I do is I make blankets and things like that, accessories. And at the moment, I don't know if you can see this blanket here. Can you see that blanket there? I did that on, but what's keeping me busy at night at the moment, when my hands are fidgety and I need something to do and something to unwind with, I've got about, well, let's just show you. It's raining squares. I've got about 100 crochet squares there. all scraps of wool, which shows how much wool I've had. So it hasn't cost me anything, but you know, ultimately I'll stitch them together and make a big blanket. When that'll be, I don't know. But yeah, so that's what's absorbing me at the minute. It's usually a winter project for me, sitting in on dark nights doing it, because in the summer I'm usually in the garden. But I'm still waiting, we're still waiting for this nice warm evenings to keep us outside, if we can go outside. Singing, I've been part of a choral society now for a few years. I've got to say I've given that a bit of a miss lately, but to be surrounded by a whole host of other people singing much better than me, it's quite emotional, really. It's quite an emotional workout to do that. So yeah, I tend to do whatever anyone sort of tells me to or whatever anyone else inspires me to. I've done a bit of bookbinding, want to do some macrame, all sorts of stuff. Anyway, I'll stop there because I've gone over what everyone else has done. What I hope this video's done though is give you just some ideas of what you might want to do. I know a lot of us are working from home, but even so, that gives you that little bit more time than you might have used up on your daily commute. And not being able to go out and it's telling me it's time to go and to communicate in your normal way. Start looking around. Use this time to learn something, to do something new. You know, have a listen to some of Tony's podcasts. Think about doing some podcasts yourself. Look at what Liz and Tony O'Neill are doing. They're furthering their skills with regard to making videos. Nigel, great idea there. Get your photos together and make a book. You know, pour your time into that so that you've got something at the end of it. You know, of this lockdown, whenever it's going to finish, you're going to have something to look back on as something that you've actually achieved, instead of sitting back thinking we're losing time. Something you will have achieved, and hopefully by the end of it we'll all be round to Erica's for a big party to finish off that wine that she's busy making. So yeah, anyway, take care everybody. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I'll put all the links to the other channels in the comments below, plus a link to my Facebook page and my Instagram, and hopefully we'll see you there. Okay, take care everybody. Bye bye.